All right. What the fuck happened to bodybuilding from Natty Life?
What the hell happened to bodybuilding? I feel like there's not enough people talking about just how messed up this sport really is.
How messed up this sport really is. Well, honestly, dude, what popular sport isn't messed up? Name me a popular sport and I can rattle off like how messed up it is. If you're talking about all the like PED abuse and shit, well, it's like there's PED abuse in baseball, basketball, football, hell, even the Olympics. All right, even the Olympics, which is international. That's like the world sport. Well, what? No, the world sport is, I think, was it soccer? But you know what I mean. It's just bodybuilding takes it like puts all the emphasis on like building muscle instead of like like an objective performance like a bunch of other sports like javelin throw or track and field or some other shit. This is all like subjective.
And the most ironic part is the contrast between how it began and what it has become. Bodybuilding originally was about seeking maximal physical development, not just looking your best, but
Bro, that's actually crazy. Like maximal physical development. And it's like all these black and white pictures are are probably these guys are probably like are were like the first bodybuilders, like were they all natty? I would probably think so, right? But then you'd ask the question, when did PED abuse start?
also feeling your best. The magnificent aesthetics from the Bronze and Silver era
Mm-hmm.
came as a result of the strength, flexibility,
Damn.
endurance, fitness, and most importantly, health that these athletes achieved through their training and lifestyles. Early bodybuilders were some of the healthiest people on the planet, and
Mm-hmm.
many of them went on to become
Really.
some of our greatest examples of longevity by not just surviving.
But then again, what was it? Like back in the day of like all that black and white stuff, the life expectancy was probably lower than what it is today. What is it today? Like women live slightly longer than men. Women probably live to like, or at least from the United States perspective, like women are like 80, men are like 70 to 80 or something like that. Maybe it's more. But back in the day, life expectancy was shorter. And it, so it was a very easy sell to be like, hey, lift weights and focus on your like health and wellness and all this jazz. So you can live, not only look good, but live longer. So it was probably something like that. But nowadays, nowadays it's actually the opposite. It's live fast, die young, is what it seems.
But also thriving well beyond the average life expectancy. Compare that to what we have now, where the highest level of the sport can't be
Oh
described
shit, that's
as
a lot.
anything other than grotesque. These quote unquote
I mean, yeah, the whole bubble gut era. Or I'm in the way. Wait a sec. I'm in the way. That um. Well, here I can do this. This was a thing. I don't know exactly what caused this or whatever, but I mean, this I think this only really happened in like the final category of bodybuilding, which was just open bodybuilding. So you have the biggest mass monsters of the biggest people in the world doing this. I don't remember if this was an issue in like the lower categories, like classic or physique, or I think classic didn't even exist back then, like when this was going on. But um, yeah, let's just keep listening.
athletes are required to abuse an unimaginable cocktail of drugs to put on as much muscle as chemically possible while also stripping the body of almost all its essential.
That's crazy. If you guys can, like, look at this. Fucking, is this that one guy, like Mr. Shreds or whatever? That is like insane conditioning.
potential fat reserves. These people are not healthy. And when they
No.
compete with
No, it's not healthy, but it is what is required of the sport. Because, I mean, like I said before, this is not an objective, objective. There's no objective way to judge bodybuilding. It's, whatever the judges think looks best for that category, essentially. And leave it to people, or at least the top tippy top, like 1/10 of 1% of performers in these categories, to take everything to the extreme, because the only thing they care about is the win. Absolutely.
which is supposed to be their absolute peak form, is when they are the least healthy. You
Yeah.
simply cannot be a high-level bodybuilder without engaging in reckless and potentially deadly.
I mean, reckless? I don't really think it's reckless. I mean, I guarantee if you ask or sit down, have a conversation with all the top performers, at least on the stage of like the Mr. Olympia, they're all like under what do you call it? They're all under they take all of their drugs under a doctor, all right? A doctor is like they're getting their blood work done and so on and so forth, and it's all done in probably the most efficacious way. I mean, I don't think they're sitting there with their little batch of steroids and they're not just sitting there, oh, I got to beat this guy and I got to do like a double dose or some shit. Like they're not doing anything like stupid sounding like that. It's like they're going to listen to their doctor or their coach or whoever, and they're just going to do what they say. So it might, I mean, it's kind of both. There's some responsibility that has to be taken on by the athlete and the coach and the doctor. So it's like, I don't think it's just one person's fault. It's like a little bit of everybody.
Behavior. All of this to achieve a look which is unnatural, unaesthetic, and seriously unappealing to anyone outside the sport.
I mean, I could break down like the categories or whatever, but I mean, you're showing pictures of just open bodybuilding. There are other pictures, or there are other categories. I mean to say, look at classic, look at physique. Those are probably more aesthetic to look at than the open bodybuilders, which are just like the biggest of the big people. Look at Chris Bumstead, I don't forgot his last name. Look at Ramon Dino, Breon Ainsley, I think it is. Yeah, all those. Yes, they're all doing PEDs, but they're not as like ginormous as all the open bodybuilder people. I mean, yeah.
Even natural competitions are now judged with the same unhealthy standards as the enhanced ones. Meaning natural bodybuilders are expected to diet down to gulag levels so they can also show up on stage at 4%.
Me show. Gulag levels. Bro, why is it anytime I see like some natural bodybuilding show, like the guys just like they're not too, like the posing is like kind of wonky compared to every like all the Olympia, like the three main Olympia categories for men. I mean, these guys all look great or whatever, but I don't know, maybe they just haven't practiced posing as much. Well, also it's like the natural category isn't as glamorized as just the regular Olympia categories. They're just not. And like these physiques are more attainable than all the other like Olympia level physiques or whatever. So I mean, and the fact that like these guys are starting to come close to like body fat percentage levels as like the Olympia bros is actually pretty crazy too. I mean, I don't know like what this picture is or like what org or what year it was taken, but hopefully something like recent.
Body fat, looking small, starved, and dehydrated. Who actually thinks that this look is more aesthetic than silver era bodybuilders who competed naturally at over 200 pounds with...
I mean, and how sure are you that all of these guys were natural? I mean, I don't know if these guys are natural, and I'm just like a random dude that kind of knows about it or whatever. And the thing about competition is that You don't have to be the very best, like 1%, um, like body fat levels, biggest muscles, or whatever. Everything that you do is dictated by your competitors. You don't have to be the most absolute best for that thing. You just have to be slightly better than the next guy under you. All right, that's all. And if all the competitors are coming in looking massive, looking shredded, and so on and so forth, well, then you as a competitor, you need to up your game too. Because if you don't want to do that, well, you can just step out of the competition if you don't want to do that. And yeah.
With a healthy body fat level. Of course, this is nothing new, it has been going on for decades. But now social media seems to be amplifying the problem, as the steroid-induced toxic ethos of pro bodybuilding gets planted into countless young and impressionable minds. And you know, it makes perfect sense. If you're a fitness or a bodybuilding influencer, obviously your appearance is going to have a massive impact on your popularity. The physiques which are perceived to be the best will of course have the most marketability when it comes to growing an audience.
Oh yeah, when it comes to like the social media bro, like fitness influencers, it's even more I would say it's even more egregious for the social media people that don't compete or whatever, because they're all taking advantage of filters, lighting, angles, every weapon in the toolkit that you can utilize to make yourself look as best as you can for the longest period of time. If it's a video, you're standing under the goon lighting. If it's like a picture or something, you're doing all the filters and like the touching up and so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, it is what it is, man.
And that audience will perceive them,
because if you don't do it, there's going to be somebody else that will do it,
as being more credible since their physique acts as their resume. So it's easy to see how almost all the top influencers end up being shredded steroid users, which in turn ends up furthering the normalization of steroids and completely unreal.
I mean, yes, there are a group of people like fitness influencers that do come in that category, but I would say there's also like an emerging group of influencers that are still, I guess they'd be like considered natty or something like that. I mean, I forgot everybody's names or whatever, like off the top of my head, but there are people that are natty and just still look good. You know, they lift as heavy as they can, try to like look as best as they can, and so on and so forth. But I mean, it's not just all 100% PED use. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. I could be wrong.
Realistic physique standards. Which brings us to the man of the hour, Sam Sulek. And before we get into this segment, let me just say that Sulek seems to be a genuinely nice guy. And nothing I'm about to say here is meant to be a personal attack on him. Rather, I am critiquing the system which he is a part of and inevitably perpetuates. To say that Sulek's rise on YouTube has been meteoric would be an understatement. In a matter of months, he has absolutely rocketed past 1 million subscribers.
Oh yeah, I think right now he's at like 2 mil. And that's crazy. I mean, good for Sam, dude.
And at this rate, he's going to be over 2 million in a couple weeks. In terms of views, he's already one of the top creators in this space. Clearly, with such a large audience, Sulek wields massive influence. And if you don't believe me, just scroll through the comments on any of his videos, where you'll find thousands of fans absolutely worshipping the guy. Now, the question in my mind has been whether Sulek is a good or a bad influence on the world of bodybuilding. And even though I'm no doubt going to get hate for this, I'm very confident in saying that Sulek is a bad influence. Not that he is a bad person, but that simply he is another gear in this mechanism which continually normalizes steroid use.
I mean, if you're going to say that Sam is a bad influence, then you would have to say that every Olympia competitor is also a bad influence. Because I'm pretty sure like almost every Olympia competitor is also using, you know, heavy amounts of PEDs. You know, Sebum, 5-time, was it classic winner or whatever recently? Um, Derek Lunsford just won recently, I think. I mean, everybody, even the king of the goat, Ronnie Coleman. Duh, he's the goat for a reason. I mean, yeah, he was really impressive as a natty bro, but then, eventually he just hopped on and so on, and the rest of the story has already been told. But
Even if he doesn't outright discuss drugs in his videos, it's obvious to anyone with half a brain that Sulik is abusing steroids to look the way he does, especially at just 21 years old. It also means that he likely started using steroids as a teenager, before his body was fully developed, before his mind was fully developed, and long before reaching anywhere close to his natural potential. He's well on his way to becoming a mass monster in his early 20s, and he's visibly unhealthy. Is this really the shining example we want countless young guys looking up to? The fact that Sulik is
probably not. But I mean, there's nothing really that you can really do about it. There's no like crazy looking physique that is really natural. I mean, I haven't seen any. I'm like mildly like kind of in tune, but not really. I'm not in the trenches of the fitness industry looking up like new, what's new, who's what's popping and shit. But I mean, as far as like natural status versus like unnatty or whatever, people don't really care about seeing, like, if you look at a bell curve of, and there's like the 50 percentile, and then there's like the 99 and the 1% percentile. People only want to see, like, people don't care about that 50th percentile, regardless of how appealing it looks or how attainable it is. People don't care about that. People see that shit every day, if anything. People are only interested in seeing like the crazy top 1/10 of 1% type people, the crazy looking motherfuckers. All right, they want to see what is like physically possible, like with like the peak of all of this like weightlifting, bodybuilding shit. People are that's what's gonna get the clicks. But I mean, if you're looking for like a shining example of like someone that's natural, I mean, I don't know.
So likable just makes the whole affair that much more insidious. Even if he never talks about steroids, everyone knows he has to be on them.
Yeah.
Yet by watching his content, you get an extremely one-sided glimpse into the world of a steroid abuser. You watch this absolute monster of a guy throwing weights around that you can't even imagine lifting. Then he takes his
I couldn't fucking manage to like lift any of that bullshit. That's
shirt
crazy.
off, and you see a physique which is completely out of your reach. And that's it. The video's over. You don't get to see him shooting needles into his butt. You don't see him nearly suffocating on his tren cough. You don't see his balls shriveling away into nothingness. You don't see the roid rage, the erectile dysfunction, or the countless other struggles that people who abuse steroids at this level inevitably deal with.
Yes, but I could say that of any other sport. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, any type of like Olympic sport. There's probably some amount of PED abuse in there.
The only thing you get to see is this unbelievably jacked guy lifting huge weights and getting massively successful while doing it. And Sulik...
Yes, that part is a little confusing to me, because when I was a little kid, I was like still really, what did they call it when your mind is easily like influenced by shit? I don't know. When I was a little kid, I was really easily influenced by shit. Like when I first started working out, I like took all my inspiration from fucking Dragon Ball Z. I wanted to look like those guys. All right, so that's what started it for me, and then so on and so forth. And it's like, oh, here I am, like 34, and like I'm still working out. But I'd say I've I'm gotten like reasonably better, but nothing compared to like anything that Sam's achieved. That's crazy. I mean, and yeah, you could probably argue like something genetics and blah blah blah. And yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that point. But I forgot what the hell I was saying. When when Sam uh like started popping off and it was kind of obvious that he was doing PEDs, that's the like what are you projecting when like what are you projecting out in the world when you as like a normal person sees that? It's like holy crap. Like if I was a little kid, I probably would have thought he was natural, but it would only be until I started talking to other people and so on and so forth. And then it would probably be, I would realize that, oh, he's probably on steroids. Oh my God. But he got so many subscribers in such a short time. Maybe I should try that. I mean, I don't know. I could be a genetic outlier too. There is that aspect to the conversation, but I mean, what is it? Sam's like what, 21, 22? I don't think he was thinking about that when he like started making the YouTube vids or whatever. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, cuz that's like a deeper level of conversation to have.
Is actually the perfect example for this messed up environment that social media is creating. I legitimately feel bad for him because he is also a victim in all of this. It's not like he randomly woke up one day and decided to take steroids out of the blue. Obviously, he got inspired by others. He
Yeah.
has said publicly that when he first started lifting, his favorite guy to watch on YouTube was Callum von Moger, a steroid-abusing pro bodybuilder who nearly died last year when he jumped out of a second-story window high on meth. So you
Damn.
get these completely unrealistic standards getting passed down from one generation of influencers to the next. Just like von Moger inspired Sulek, Sulek will inspire others, and the cycle never ends. That's
Yes. And I think it perpetuates even faster with more and more social medias popping off. It probably wasn't as prevalent back in the day because the internet wasn't as as prevalent as it is today. But I mean, who knows? Maybe people will be a little bit more educated now, and maybe in the future, maybe not.
why I'm saying there's nothing inherently evil about Sulek. He
No.
is but another gear in the mechanism. Then one day, as morbid and as sad as it may be to think about, he will very likely succumb to his steroid addiction. And everyone will say, oh my gosh, he's gone so soon. He was a legend. He was the greatest. He will live on forever. Meanwhile, everyone was sitting around watching this guy kill himself in 4K, talking about how he's such a nice guy and how inspirational he is. Then some...
I mean, if there's one thing that's great about the Sam Sulek videos, and I mean, I gotta say, I don't know, maybe with or without PEDs, that motherfucker brings intensity to his workouts, regardless of you or whether or not you think like his form is good or bad or workout, I don't know, order is good or bad. That motherfucker brings intensity, like, whew. And that's something that I lacked a lot of. Like I always struggle to like be intense with my workouts or whatever, but I don't know, just seeing because I don't know, it feels like if I'm watching like some YouTube video of like some bodybuilder working out hard as fuck, I don't maybe it might be my head is messed up, but I don't see them struggling as hard, or maybe they're not as dramatic about it as Sam is. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe I look like an idiot working out. maybe everybody else around me is sane and I'm the crazy one.
other juiced up influencer can take his place. Just like Sulek now stands in the footsteps of Joe Lindner, John Meadows,
Yep.
or Z's.
Yep.
On my podcast, I made the comparison between Sam Sulek and Nikocado Avocado.
Oh wow. Wait. So this is actually like So I know this person. I know this person. I don't know who this is, but these are like two polar opposites in, I don't know, like the fitness, or I don't know what to call it. This dude likes eating food and putting on a show, and Sam just likes working out and putting on a show. These are like polar opposite sides of the spectrum. I mean, this guy plays a character and he's like really big. He does like the, what did he call it? The mukbangs and shit, and he got like really overweight. And this dude is just like some chilled out dude that just likes working out and bullshitting. So it seems these guys are like on the polar opposite sides, very extreme polar opposites. And there's probably like room for some people to grow, like maybe in the middle, but I mean, like, bro, like the audience is gonna dictate what they want to see. You as a singular person do not get to dictate what is good and bad content. The massive amounts of people dictate that. So these are like two very I don't know, I would say extreme versions, like opposite sides of the spectrum, I'd say.
At the time, it was just some random silly comment that came to my mind. But really, the more I think about it, the more convinced I get. Obviously, they have radically different personalities and approaches. But just try to look beyond that for a second and get to the root of what they are doing. They are both trading their health for short-term gratification, money, and fame.
Well, yeah. What was that? There wasn't there like some study or some shit that they did with all the Olympic level athletes, and they asked them, "Hey, if you could trade 5 years of your life away, but in return you would get an Olympic gold medal?" And I think the majority of the answers that was that most of the Olympic level athletes, they said that they would do that in a heartbeat. Yeah. Um, because I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, living long is like a cool idea, but who's to say whether or not it's a fulfilling life is a whole nother thing. But if you could shorten your life and, I don't know, gain some sort of like monetary value from it in some way, shape, or form, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not fucking doing any steroids, so I mean, that's neither really here nor there for me. But I don't know. That is a good question.
Also, I find it fascinating how radically different people's opinions are towards steroids compared to other drugs. Just imagine if some famous YouTuber was very publicly struggling with a meth addiction. Do you think anyone would get inspired by their body wasting away or their teeth falling out?
Oh,
Everyone
yeah.
would likely be outraged and trying to get that
Yeah.
person the help they need. But
Yeah, because there's like a specific image that goes like in everybody's head that goes along with the word meth addict. When you say steroid addict, most people think about like bodybuilders. They don't really think about football and sports and so on and so forth. But I mean, bro, like steroids is a big hot topic issue just in sports competition throughout the world. All right, it's not just bodybuilding though. Um, I mean, it is what it is, man. I can't say whether or not it's good or bad, but I don't know.
when it comes to steroids, everyone just turns a blind eye because one of the side effects of steroid abuse is getting very big muscles, so it's all good, right? And so the unrealistic
That Lenny?
physique standards continue. More and more lifters end up with body dysmorphia. You get teenagers on TikTok doing the 30-day trend challenge, teaching each other how to order SARMs, or proudly showing off their first cycle, when
I had no idea that this was a thing. This is news to me.
they clearly have only been training for a couple of months. But hey, I'm sure they binged watched at least 10 more plates, more dates videos, so I'm sure they know what they're...
True, dude. MPMD. Bro, I could watch like all of fucking Derek's videos and still would not want to do steroids, really.
doing, right? And people like Sam Sulek or the Trent twins or friggin' countless others get
Yeah.
applauded because at least they aren't claiming natural. That's it. That's where we set the bar.
Well, yeah, because people, at least in the fitness industry, people detest liars in the fitness industry. Like, you can't claim natty or lifetime natty when you're sitting there, obviously doing like PEDs or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Maybe for some people it's hard to tell, and then other people it's not so hard, or I don't know. But that's just one thing, at least in the fitness industry, or maybe any industry really. Like, people just hate liars, man. Like, quit fucking lying about your natty status, your coveted natty status. I mean, look at Chris Bumstead. He's not claiming natty. Everybody loves Chris.
As long as you're not a fake natty, you can pretty much do whatever you want and people will
Yeah.
love you for it. If you want to see examples of people normalizing steroid use, look no further than my own comment section. The steroid junkies always get triggered when I talk about this stuff, and I'm sure they'll show up
Really?
on this video as well. They'll call me a cringy little skinny natty nerd, or just do their very best to justify and normalize their own drug abuse. Like, look at this guy comment.
I mean, as far as like I get it, having a big ass comment section of like steroid apologists or whatever, it's like, I mean, who cares? If they want to do that, then let them. Who gives a fuck? You're not hurting me.
Commenting on a video I made about the worst side effects of steroids. He says, all these things can be avoided with proper knowledge of knowing what you're doing. Shrinking of balls can be prevented with HCG. Acne, use Accutane, lower dose, skincare routine. Gyno, AI and estrogen blockers. Now to
Bro, AI can fix fucking gyno? He probably means a different AI, but I thought that was just funny.
some of you, this might sound insane, but this is literally a normal thought process among bodybuilders. Oh, I'm getting a bunch of side effects from abusing drugs? Not to worry, I can just take all these other drugs to balance it all out. It's not like those drugs could possibly have side effects of their own as well. Man,
Yeah.
how the hell did we come to this?
I don't know. That is a good question. It's just, I mean, social media really isn't regulated, so it's in that respect, it's still the Wild West in terms of, what's gonna get the clicks and so on and so forth. And social media has been out for, I don't know, I don't know. It's been like what, 10, 15-ish years since social media was like developed, so it's still like relatively new, I would say. And how did we get here? It's like people just want to see more and more extreme things, to be honest. It's more entertaining that way when I get to see the extremes.
Can just imagine Steve Reeves and Marvin Eder rolling in their graves. How can people seriously be making themselves these convoluted drug cocktails and acting like it's a totally normal thing to do? Messing around with your body's endocrine system like you're customizing a video game character. Here's another one. I was natural for quite a while, but honestly, you plateau at about 18 months. And that's where the gains stop. I said screw it and jumped on gear. Couldn't be happier. This kind of mindset is unbelievable.
Only like a year and a half of training. I don't know. That seems a little low to me. Like, give it a good, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years at least, depending on when you start or whatever.
Stupid. And it's also depressingly common nowadays. You hit your first plateau after your newbie gains, so you immediately start taking drugs? What happened to figuring out your programming? Fixing your diet or lifestyle? Maybe training a little harder?
Yeah.
Or how about just having some damn patience? We have naturals on this platform still making amazing gains after 10 or 15 years. Yet this guy couldn't possibly make any more gains after a year and a half. Okay. And what's gonna happen the next time he plateaus? Do you think he's gonna put some effort into figuring out how to break through it? Or is he...
No, he's probably going to up the dosages or maybe change the drugs that he's gonna do, and so on and so forth.
Just gonna increase the dose since that's the simplest and most obvious solution available to him. Once they start going down that path, there's simply no coming back. Their growth comes from the drugs, not from their training. And since they always want to keep getting bigger, they just keep increasing the dose until they cycle straight into the grave. Funnily enough, as passionate as I am with my anti-steroid message, you might be surprised to hear that morally speaking, I am a vehement supporter of individual liberties.
So when you say like steroid use, I'm assuming you mean like recreational steroid use in terms of like cosmetic gains for like muscles and shit, because like steroids like exist for like other things in your body, like your smooth muscles, like inside your body for like your lungs or whatever, bronchodilators or whatever. But yeah, I get what you mean. As far as like when it comes to like, I don't know, recreational like steroid abuse, it's like, in terms of like myself, I'm probably not ever gonna take it, but I wouldn't be against like, you know, having all the sports people watch that I watch or whatever. I mean, I don't even watch sports, to be honest, but like if what if all the sports leagues were just be like, come out and be like, okay, we're not going to test for drugs anymore, have at it, you know, just allow people to do like whatever amount of drugs they want, because it's their choice, you know, they can choose whether to do it or not do it in the first place. Like, who gives a shit? Like, just, if they want to do it, let them do it. The only thing that you can really control is yourself.
I legitimately believe that people should have the freedom to do whatever the hell they want, including steroids. The only thing that I wish is that as lifters, as a community, we promote health, and that the influential figures among us lead by example. Is that really too much to ask? But alas, this is what the sport has turned into. Everyone's on drugs, everyone has convinced themselves that it's completely normal and there's nothing wrong with it. The judges require it.
I mean, yes, it's normal, but I don't think everyone's okay with it. It's just a side effect of, you just have to deal with it and withstand it, more or less. It seems like, at least to me. I mean, I don't know any like top level fucking bodybuilders like or friends with or anything like that, but again, it's just, you know, like the whole natural category, it like doesn't have enough marketing and money behind it. It's just not as popular as like the Olympia. If there was a like, would you actually watch a natural category if the Olympia had that? Or maybe they even tried it in the past, but it just didn't succeed because nobody watched it. Everybody only wanted to watch like the crazy mass monster categories or whatever, you know? So I don't know. I mean, yeah.
It if you want to win, the social media platforms require it if you want to be successful, and an ever-increasing number of young guys get sucked into the meat grinder. You might think I'm being dramatic, but I'm so sick of seeing all these young people dying, and I'm sick of seeing a sport I love getting destroyed. Anyway, if you found this interesting, you can check out my second channel where I make more videos in this style. And if you happen to be Spanish or Latin, please support my Spanish channel. Link to both will be in the description. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and see you next time.
Oh, that was cool. I liked it. I mean, it's just a little thought experiment, or not experiment, just like a thought to, you know, I mean, it is interesting to think that like this is like what is happening in like a tiny little footnote or like a slice of the fitness industry and what's happening. I mean, a lot of people are getting successful. You know, you said Trend Twins, fucking Sam Sulik, and so on and so forth, or you know, people like that are popping off. And I mean, I don't know. I just don't see any like Natty Bros popping off in the same way or whatever. So it's just, I think it's like a you have to educate the masses type deal, if anything, or it could be just the right categories need the right marketing and money behind it, you know. Maybe if the natural category started offering more of money or something, maybe we would see more, I don't know, participants in that or whatever. Um, yeah. So that's about it. I thought it was a good video, definitely, and I want to see more. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, peace.